All right, hello, my friends. We're back at it again. It's Leetcode 1528 shuffle string. So, given a string s and an integer array indices of the same length, the string s will be shuffled such that the characters at the ith position move to the indices I in the shuffled string. And basically, what that means is we're given a string s, and we want to rearrange the characters so that each character in s corresponds to the indices and indices. So in this example here, the first index in the string s is C, and we want C to be at the fourth index instead of the zero index. So the fourth index would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want C to be in this position here. And as you see in the answer, C is in that position. And it would be quite easy to just say S at that current index, and we can just change it on the fly. But unfortunately, strings are immutable in Python. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a res array because arrays are mutable, which means we can change them. And what we're going to do is, let me make sure I clarify. Res is just going to be an array of the equal length of s because our final result is going to be essentially s rearranged, shuffled. And these little dashes just denote placeholders. They can be anything you like. They can be x's, dashes, zeros, anything. And what we're going to do is iterate through s and indices simultaneously and change the index of our res array to equal the value that we're currently looking at. So let's say we're looping through these simultaneously. We would have an A and a 0 because this is the first one here, and we're here as well. And we'd say res at index 0 equals whatever value we're looking at, in this case an A. So an A would go here. Next, we'd look at the B. We'd have a B, and we'd look at the current value, and that would be a 2. So we go to the second index, 0, 1, 2, and that would be a B. And lastly, we'd be at C with an index of 1. We look at 0, 1, and this would be a C here. But the answer wants us to return it as a string, not an array. So what we're going to do is join it together to create a string. And after we join it together, it would look something like A, C, B as a string, and that would be our answer. So let's get into actually coding that. So to make our placeholder, what we do is say, I'd call it res for result. So res equals, and I'm just going to call this x for a placeholder, times the length of the string. Next, what we want to do is iterate through s and our indices simultaneously, and we're going to do that with a for loop. So for L, which stands for letter, and I, which stands for the index. We're going to use zip, and we're going to say S and indices. And we're going to say res at index I equals L. And here we have essentially, once this for loop runs, we're going to have a filled out array. But now we have to return a string version. So we're going to return .join, .join, if I can spell join correctly, join, and we want to join our res array as a string and return this. So this should be the answer, and let's try it out. And there we go. We solved the problem. And that was pretty fast, right? And you learned how to use the zip function in Python. Peace. Drop a like, do all that good stuff.